The manatee is one of the most famous marine mammals on the planet. Their adorable appearance has made them a symbol of wildlife conservation, and their resemblance to the mythical mermaids has enchanted sailors for generations. Their hilariously cylindrical bodies, however, hide something deeper. The manatee is a truly fascinating animal that is charming even beyond its appearance and boasts unique adaptations that are scarce elsewhere in the animal kingdom. Manatees are kingdom Animalia, phylum Chordata, and class Mammalia, which essentially indicates that the manatee is a mammal, with live young and mammary glands which produce milk. In this case, it has two nipples on the upper abdomen, much like humans. Where it differs from humans, however, is that it lacks the structure to actually hold its milk. It secretes it pretty much constantly, meaning that manatee young have to feed almost constantly. Their order, Sirenia, which includes all dugong and manatee species, is where we start to get more specific. Sirenia is derived from the mythological siren, which tracks with their history being misidentified as beautiful women by sailors. Their family, Traditidae, is specifically covering manatee species. Living species include the Amazonian manatee in the Amazon basin, the West Indian manatee in the Caribbean, and the African manatee at the west coast of Africa, and the dwarf manatee, who lives in the freshwater Amazon environments. Though there's still a ton of debate on whether it's actually a unique species versus the Amazonian manatee, though neither of these should be confused with the now extinct western Amazonian manatee. Sirenia split from their most recent terrestrial ancestor around 69 million years ago in the late Cretaceous. This ancestor shared with elephants. Dugongs, meanwhile, would split off only 45 million years ago, and the African manatee split off 6 million years ago, while Amazonian and Indian manatees split off from each other only about 1 million years back. In terms of their anatomy, Sirenians are unique, as they're the only herbivorous marine mammals. They possess strong and flexible lips they use to tear seagrass from the ocean floor, as well as feed on algae, grinding them down with their molars. These molars are similar to rodents, in which they constantly grow and replace themselves as they get ground down. Their herbivory continues in the GI tract, where they have a large hind gut, making them like horses, cows, and other grazing herbivores. This, alongside other adaptations like accessory glands and the mucus glands along the inside of the stomach, indicates that manatees are slow but efficient digesters of fibrous plant life, which aligns with observations in the wild. As mentioned previously when we were discussing the various species of manatee, the manatee can be found all over the Atlantic, primarily along the coasts and warm regions. Though manatees can survive in both freshwater and saltwater environments, the exact ratio of where you can find a given species, well, depends on species to species. The Amazonian manatee, for example, is almost exclusively freshwater. It's fully set up in the Amazon River. The West Indian manatee is almost fully marine, on the other hand, setting up shop in the Caribbean and around the coast of Florida. The African manatee kind of splits the different, can be found up the Senegal River, as well as along the coast of West Africa. However, one of the more interesting aspects of manatees is that they're shockingly intelligent. One way they show this intelligence through their incredible navigational skills. Manatees have been known to demonstrate dead reckoning, or the ability to travel in a straight line between two locations. Manatees have been known to travel long distances, up to 160 kilometers at times, to specific locations in deep water at night and be able to turn around and take the same path back to where they came from. Others have been able to find their way to specific rivers across open water, rather than having to follow the shoreline. Others follow the shore, but pass several creek inlets before turning into a specific one, indicating an ability to remember and even have a preference for different creeks. Manatees' behavior with regards to human interaction, however, has quickly grown to be my favorite aspect of the family. Human interaction is heavily studied as part of larger conservation efforts to mitigate the impact on the endangered species. The West Indian manatee has most of the documentation about this specific area, but has a massive number of anecdotal accounts that indicate fascinating behavioral traits. Nets, for example, are often used to capture manatees for health assessments and tagging. But in further demonstration of their intellectual prowess, some manatees demonstrate an ability to learn how to avoid capture. This includes swimming around the net, digging into the sand to allow the net to pass over them, and even observing others escape it and following the same route. While some are amenable to capture, it still demonstrates a capacity to learn and adapt within a single lifetime. This ability to learn also extends to interaction with boats. Manatees will often avoid large motorized boats that tend to make a large part of their mortality rate every year, and are able to recognize the sound of these boats approaching. Meanwhile, canoes and kayaks pose a far smaller risk of avoidance. Though some, especially those that migrate from areas without canoes, avoid them, others will instead attempt to flip them with varying degrees of success. Canoes rarely suffer from such a fate, but kayaks are much more vulnerable to the animal. With divers and snorkelers, results vary. Some accounts indicate an extreme friendliness with divers, such as an account from the 1980s, where a manatee, nicknamed Horny Howie, and I'm not making that up, would attempt to clasp onto divers repeatedly and often get in the way of the work they were attempting to do. This behavior was also lifelong, indicating an early example of the now more recognized feature of stable personalities in mammals. Other accounts include response to eye contact, lifting people out of the water, and African manatees have been seen approaching people on the banks of the Senegal River. Manatees also put a lot of effort into their child rearing, and they typically have one calf at a time, and they engage in a behavior known as parking, in which they set their young in a given location before leaving for a bit to find food or accomplish other tasks. This is similar to a behavior exhibited by deer. Much like deer, the mother has not abandoned the child, no matter how much it looks like it. There is an instance of an accidental calf napping by Dominican Wildlife Rescue when it was a mistaken case of abandonment, but the baby was quickly returned to his mother when it came looking for it. Don't be fooled into thinking that manatees only interact with their young, though. Manatees exist in herds, and interaction with other adults is just as fascinating. Manatees have demonstrated an ability to communicate and identify with other members of their species. They've been observed to engage in a kissing behavior in greeting, suggesting a chemical or tactile means of communication. Even in low visibility environments, manatees are able to find each other without too much issue, making a direct path to each other without circling. Manatees have also demonstrated the ability to identify individual members of the species, as they've been observed to investigate each other before moving on, only stopping when a specific individual is found. Manatees also demonstrate epileptic behavior. This essentially means that manatees have empathy for their fellows. Manatees have been demonstrated to protect and provide support to injured members of their groups, as well as an instance where a juvenile manatee appeared to comfort a female that had recently lost its calf. Manatees also engage in play, cooperate to achieve certain tasks, and have demonstrated something akin to friendship. Now, I know we just got done talking about how manatees have friends and regularly interact with humans, but don't book a plane ticket just yet. Manatees are protected by the Marine Mammal Protection Act, meaning harassing them is a felony and can cost you upwards of $50,000 in fines and possibly jail time. Though they have a reputation as gentle giants, it'd be wise not to ignore the giant part of that descriptor, as manatees are 9 to 10 feet long and weigh 800 to 1,200 pounds, with some growing 13 feet long and weighing over 1,300 pounds. Though they have an docile nature, they are still wild animals, and interacting with them in an improper way is a good way to get hurt. Independently of your own safety, leaving the manatee alone is crucial due to their conservation status. They've historically been classified as endangered, though in 2017 they rose to just threatened, but they have once again changed their status back to endangered. Thankfully, there are many efforts to protect these species. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service runs refuges for the West Indian manatee, such as the Crystal River National Wildlife Refuge, where research can take place for the protection of these animals. Much of the video footage you've been seeing in the background of this video has actually been from one of these such reservations. Much of the research in the manatee is the same. The anecdotal accounts I have discussed previously were gathered in order to discuss potential new avenues of conservation. Most of the papers I'm citing for the video are for this purpose, and the project to save the manatee is being attacked on all sides, from anatomy to behavioral ecology to biochemistry. In conclusion, manatees, wherever you may find them, are a fascinating group. Their digestive physiology reveals their fascinating evolutionary history. Their behavior, too, shows incredible intelligence, both emotional and logistical, able to learn, problem solve, comfort, and befriend, both within their own species and beyond. It's easy to see that manatees live up to the hype that surrounds them. And even if they're not actually mermaids, oftentimes they're just as magical.